is Monday, May 19th, late in the morning. Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson here on the All 32 pod, part of and a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Show brought to you by Prizepicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off when you play $5 off your first bet. Again, Prizepicks, run your game. Lot to get to today after a nice weekend. Weather.
The Yankees won their World Series. I mentioned.
Yeah, so did the Knicks apparently when they eliminated the Celtics. The scene outside Madison Square Garden was quite something for a second round series.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is that I think I almost kind of enjoy. Like I hope we go back to like people getting excited about winning no matter what and not being too cool for anything. I think I ranted about this like 2 weeks ago when Devin Williams got excited he had struggled all year leading up to that Padres series, was horrible. Of course, the night I went on Monday, and he comes back on Wednesday and he's like bases loaded, top of the 11th inning, lose-lose situation. He gets all fired up because he strikes out Xander Bogaerts, as he's known up in your neck of the woods, and he's pumped up, and everyone's like, well, he won his World Series, and it's like, no, it's a professional athlete that we beg for these guys to care. And I know it's a difference between the fans and the players, but I actually hope in sports we go back to like it's cool to care and it's cool to like to give a bleep. And we'll talk about some guys who in this episode who may or may not give a bleep, and that's part of the issue. Like, I think it was cool last night that Yankees Mets had juice to it for a regular season. Like I hope Yankees Red Sox in 2.5 or so weeks, Mike, I think at the stadium, like I don't think it's going to be 2000, nothing will ever be 2003, 2004 Yankees Red Sox in baseball ever again. Like that's the highest level of the sport I think I've ever seen, mixture of roids and hatred of the two cities and the whole thing. Yep. It's the best awesome baseball I've ever watched. They went literally 7-7 over 14 games. That's as good as it gets. But I kind of hope we start to come back this era of like, it's cool to be at a team for a long time. It's cool to win. And like, I know that's not really what your topic was. I just felt like I had to say it because
I had it. Well, you bring this up because so as the Celtics that was a complete blowout in Game 6.
It's just weird that they played so well in Game 5 and then showed in Game 6.
Nothing in Game 6. Like it was almost like, hey, we did our job. We extended.
We had lose at home. We showed pride. And we're good.
But so I was just having fun, like, just watching the game. It's a disaster. And I'm just like, I'm out on Timothy Chalamet, right? I'm out on Sudeikis because they kept showing the celebrities in the crowd, right? I'm just goofing around. Clearly, if you know my personality, I'm totally goofing around.
Very sarcastic, yes.
Some guy, I want to read this because I found this funny. Some person, I don't know what it is because there's not a picture and I'm not sure it's their name. So it's like, Chalamet is off the charts great. Displaced Bostonian living in New York since 2005. He's one of the most authentic stars of the 21st century. Have met him many times, and he could not be more down-to-earth and gracious. You strike me, in contrast, as essentially a provincial simpleton. And I honestly, I was dying laughing. I'm like, you're taking yourself a little too seriously. I am clearly not taking myself seriously. You're taking yourself too seriously. I'll give you a little hint. I probably, if I have to pick a team to root for in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'll probably pick the Knicks because I like watching Brunson play. I found the whole thing kind of funny.
I know it's not, we'll talk about Purdy here in a second, and Caleb, but like, I think we need, it was refreshing, not that anyone on this who listens to this podcast watches soccer, but Jamie Vardy and Thomas Muller are both leaving clubs they've been at for eons. And like those guys played like a million miles an hour, whether you're playing the worst team in the league, biggest game of the year. Like I just like those guys. Like I hope there's like a new breed of like talent that comes into the league and in the NFL and, that like give a crap Monday through Sunday, not just, big primetime game, I'm going to, show out. It's like, no, like the 1 p.m. Carolina game, I'm going to be like, that's why I love Russ, dude. Like Russ is pretty hard to watch sometimes at this point in his career because but like it was always awesome. Like drives through the lane, screaming and yelling. KG was like that. Like these guys are just relentless. Like I don't care who you are. I'm one-on-one. I'm beating you. And I hope we continue to like get that new renaissance back in sports a little bit.
It's the old school. Was it DiMaggio was quoted as saying way back in the day, like, yeah, I have to give my all because it might be the only time so and so got tickets to the game to see me play. Like
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward at all times.
That's also, by the way, why people, I think, as much as we joke about Tatum being a little cringy, like that dude plays 82 games a year and plays 40 minutes a night. And, you know, Simmons went on the whole tirade about it. But like, it is true. Like, you just could pencil him in. He plays every night. He plays super hard. That's why it's like, sucks that he, you know, ends up getting hurt the way he does. Cause
Right.
I don't know if you can say the same for Jaylen Brown, but I lost. We can go down the NFL talk.
Yeah, let's get to it. Big news of the weekend. It was a Friday. Brock Purdy signs his contract extension, or at least they've agreed to. I don't know if it's officially gone through just yet. It reported Friday at 5:00. Interesting time to leak the news. 5 years, $265 million, which would make him tied for seventh in average annual value with Jared Goff. However, as they start to get deeper into the contract and some of the ideas, the last year of his deal ripped up, tagged on in a different way. 6 years, $279 million is the actual contract, which lowers the average annual value to $45 million. Purdy, for the 3 years that he started, 23-13 as a starter, 64 touchdowns, 27 interceptions, quarterback rating of nearly 105, completing over 67% of his passes, gets a no trade as part of this, which seems to be the way of the world now too for these quarterbacks. I guess my first question for you is, now that you kind of know the and we'll get more granular with the numbers, I think, as the week goes on, but like, is that worth it to you if you're the 49ers for Mr. Irrelevant to now be making on average $45 million a year?
Yeah, so essentially it looks like it's basically a 3-year $165 million. I think I did the math right. 3 for 165 is essentially what it comes out to. I think it's really 55 a year for 3 years based on like the real money. The no trade was interesting. I felt like it was like, hey, we're going to not pay you top of the market. We're going to pay you, and like you'll get if we move on and we want to trade you, at least you'll have some type of say. It was kind of like, it felt like that was a meeting point, you know, for this. And hey, well, we're going to rip up this year, which he was going to make $5 million. You know, he'll make more now. So, hey, he makes a lot more, you know, in the near term. And then again, he'll be what, 20, what's Purdy now? 26?
26.
26. Yeah. He's 26 years old. So, you know, hey, he'll be 29. And if he continues to progress as a player and shows it, like, he's going to get $75 million a year in 3 years, right? That's just the way. And I think that's kind of the opposite of like the Mahomes deal, where like it aged really well for the Chiefs, and Mahomes will obviously continue to redo those deals. But I think this was the short-term bet where if San Francisco's like, hey, we've seen extensions like Tua and these other ones where could be up in the air. You could argue, hey, it's worth it, or hey, it's not. And we'll see. Obviously, Tua's a year ago, right? And Goff and these other guys, which feel like they're really 4-year deals. And this is like,
Right.
It's just a little bit of a different structure. They had to probably do it because, again, we talked about before the draft, hey, would you move them? And we said for a certain price you would. They're backed into a corner a bit here. My one concern, I guess, with the Purdy deal and just kind of all of what San Francisco is doing is easy schedule, and the lineage is really good. They're kind of an every other year team outside of 22 to 23. They actually were good back-to-back years. But other than that, it's been like one bad year, one great year. 1 year everyone gets hurt. The next year everyone's great. That I don't know. I'm a little worried the roster still doesn't feel awesome. It feels like there's some awesome guys, and then it's a lot of question marks. And so I guess my point being, like, I thought this was the time to reset. I thought even last year was like, dude, 5 straight years, we've gotten so close. Let's retool and go. We'll see. They had to do it. It makes sense. It's great for Purdy. And I think at least the $53 million a year, that's like the announced number, is good for the market. But I think, like you mentioned, the 45 is really the number, which is about what we said. I think we said a couple weeks back, 40 to 45, we feel okay. 50,
Yeah.
55, I'm good. And I guess he ended up right where, we kind of thought, we felt like, okay, I understand it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too. When we see it, as you mentioned, with Mahomes and when Allen's redone his deal, like this is now factored into the equation, if you will. The teams look at it and say, like, okay, you're still elite. Market continues to go up. We're not going to make you be the guy who's getting paid $20 million less than you should be. We'll bump it up. And so if Brock Purdy, if he balls out the next 2 years or whatever, and the market continues to go upward, which we believe it will be because the cap continues to go up, then I'm sure San Francisco will sit down and say, let's rip up this and let's tack on another 10 million, whatever the number is, get you more guaranteed money. And that way they sort of continue to control the quarterback position. So I asked you if it was worth it. And we kicked him around before the draft about maybe would you move on from him?
Yep.
So specifically, the New York Jets situation you're in. Justin Fields is signed as the bridge quarterback, and who knows, maybe he finally reaches the potential of being the top 10 pick that he was. If you were the Jets, Justin Fields or Brock Purdy?
Yeah, I'd rather Brock Purdy. The Purdy thing is just, it's so hard. This is the reason I keep struggling with him, is because when we saw him with all the talent, he's awesome. And he did a lot of really nice things, but we saw that Jimmy G do a lot of similar things. We've seen Matt Ryan, again, different levels of player, but point being, anyone with Kyle Shanahan's looked pretty good, especially when they have stuff around them. What I struggle with Purdy is last year, everything fell apart and he kind of fell apart and he was hurt and the whole thing. I'd rather have Purdy for sure, because Fields has never shown in a year close to what Purdy has, regardless of situation. But I do worry a bit of like, how much is he an elevator, right? Like, is he the type of player that isn't going to make it worse, but he's not going to really make it that much better? And that's that scary 12 through 17 ish quarterback where they might not win you a Super Bowl. Although, and again, but Purdy was 2 minutes from winning a Super Bowl.
I know.
So it's like, I know. What are we doing? It's just, I don't know. He might be I think he's genuinely the hardest quarterback to evaluate in the league. It's preference, it's draft whatever the right word is, like
pedigree,
draft notion or whatever. Yep. Where like Fields has the great draft pedigree, right? And he wows you with the size and speed and athleticism, and then it's like he's completed 63% of his passes once.
Yeah,
so it's like,
right.
What are we doing here at some level? Mike, I want to point out, we talked about evaluation with Purdy. Over the cap, which me and you both have a lot of love for Jason. He does a fantastic job, and the guys over there. He has him valued at $30.5 million a year, and that would be like an ideal situation. So I'm sure an exercise I might go through is what everyone's valued at from a quarterback perspective. And we can go down the list in June and July when it's slower, and go and just see who the best bargain is versus not. Probably excluding the rookies, right? Daniels is worth 50, but he's making 10. But I feel like if he's worth 30, if you get him at 45, it's a decent hometown discount a little bit. Purdy could have been a dick here a little bit, right? He could have said, nah, dude, I'm going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. And like, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep. No, I think it's smart of him and his people. Like, hey, it's a good situation if Kyle remains there, which, we have some questions. If this year doesn't go great, if they finally decide like the Andy Reid situation in Philly, like it's probably time to part ways. But it's a good place for him. He operates well in the system. He is a good point guard, if you will, for that offense.
Fred Warner also getting it seems like he's going to get another deal as well. Yep. I wonder though, with that one, my spidey senses are, look, he's got 2 years remaining on the deal, no guaranteed money, and it's a $29 million a year cap hit both years. This feels like hey, we can wipe out the 2 years of void years. We'll redo these two deals. We'll basically get you locked in for 4 years. We'll just tack on 2 years and kick it down the road. Doesn't that feel like that? Doesn't feel like he's already the top paid. Like it's
Yeah, it's more like, hey, you and to his credit, last year with the injury, still played all 17 games. I mean, he's a badass. He another one of those guys. He posts every week. He plays every week. But yeah, that does seem like it's going to be more about just, hey, we're going to make sure that your money is guaranteed, and we'll spread the cap hit out a little bit here as you go forward. My last point on Purdy. And I did this exercise quickly, and it's just sort of a feel thing. I didn't put parameters on it. Like, there are 31 other teams in the league. We mentioned the Jets. You would take Purdy. What other teams in the league would take Purdy? And this is just me operating as them.
Yep.
Miami, the Colts, the Titans, which, again, if you factor money into it, maybe you wouldn't do it because Cam Ward's your first-round pick overall. Steelers, Browns, Giants, Carolina, Saints, Minnesota, just because that offense is the same. You know what I mean? Like, you can plug him in.
You've seen it.
Yeah, and then Seattle. And that, to me, was it. And that's not – I mean, that's 11 teams. Which would put him in the 20th best quarterback range.
Would Philly think about it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think they'd at least have a conversation.
Yeah, because I think they'd look at him and say –
we talk about New Orleans?
Yeah, I put New Orleans in there.
I'm just trying to think of any other teams. Now, we're going to get to this. Actually, this is a good segue.
Denver might be a team that you could
Chicago
say –
think about it.
Okay.
I'm not saying they should. I'm just throwing out because we're going to get to Caleb now. So I'm curious.
Well, Ben Johnson would look at Jared Goff and say, I had all this awesome success with Jared Goff. Is Brock Purdy not similar to Jared Goff?
Better athlete.
Yeah, would I do that? Ben Johnson, though, has to deal with Caleb Williams. We'll talk about that in just a second. But, of course, I want to talk about Prizepicks because, as I mentioned off the top of the show, great sponsor for us and just an incredible access to daily fantasy sports for everyone. You pick more or less on up to two players and up to 6 to win 2,000 times your money. You can cross sports, as always, basketball, hockey, baseball, full swing now. Women's basketball going on as well. If you're Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, all that sort of stuff. So you get involved there. Again, just look at the numbers, see if you want more or less, combine them, and put down a wager and see what it does for you. So just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game. So I'm glad you led us to Caleb Williams because, again, this was, I believe, a Thursday or Friday, late in the week. News dump. Seth Wickersham, feature reporter for ESPN's written a few books, writing a book about the quarterback position. And they released some cuts from that, if you will. And there were 2 Caleb Williams points that I think surprised some people or at least moved the needle. And certainly has us talking about it today. The first one is that he did not want to go to Chicago. That is where quarterbacks go to die. And as we well know, there's never been a quarterback who's thrown for 4,000 yards in Chicago Bears history. When you consider how easy it is these days to throw for 4,000 yards, that is pretty remarkable. His father looked into the idea, his people looked into the idea of maybe playing in one of the other leagues so that they could circumvent the CBA, the NFL CBA, and then become a free agent in the league. But apparently that did not work for them, and he ends up in Chicago. Then not only does he end up in Chicago, but he ends up with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron. I don't know how I'm going to make this work, was basically the quote. And he's in there studying tape without anyone in there with him. And as if to say, I think the line was like, well, what am I supposed to be looking at? So I guess just your thoughts on the idea that maybe we might see this going forward, that maybe some teams, some players will try to navigate a little bit more like Eli Manning did, not with the Chargers and into New York. And then, of course, the idea that they failed him miserably last year.
Yeah. This one's, again, not to be political here in the sense of like, this one's a little difficult because I think there's plenty of blame everywhere. I think with last year, I don't think Shane Waldron was the right hire. I think we said it at the time. I think we,
didn't like it.
I just didn't understand they could clean. There's clear opportunity to clear the decks. Eberflus I don't think had shown anything, in my opinion, as a head coach. This is similar to the Jets situation. I think both teams drastically overrated one side of the football and compromised the other side of the football. So Eberflus and Waldron weren't the right hires, no doubt about it. I think we all kind of knew Caleb was pretty about Chicago. It didn't feel like at any point during the process until he was actually drafted there was he have any interest in going to Chicago. It felt like, he wanted to be in. I don't know. It always gave off that vibe of like, oh, guess I'm going to Chicago.
Right.
The idea of this is where QBs go to die. Yes, the Bears have had plenty of struggles, but they've also had quarterbacks that have been successful. Maybe not homegrown guys, but like, again, I know this is reaching maybe, but like Jim McMahon and Jay Cutler, like, were very productive, good quarterbacks, and McMahon won a Super Bowl, and Jay Cutler got them to a title game. Like, it's not like it was horrible, and whatever, and things like that. Like Mitch Trubisky, was a Pro Bowl homegrown guy at one point. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm not saying that Mitch was good, but he was a Pro Bowl quarterback early on in his career with like the best defense in the league. And if they make a field goal, that team maybe goes and wins the Super Bowl. Like, it's a pretty legit argument to be made there. So, yes, it obviously cratered after. But the point being, it's like situations aren't all perfect, but some of this is on Caleb too. Like, if no one's teaching you how to watch film, shouldn't you be asking people for help? And shouldn't you be searching for how to get better and searching for ways to – I don't think that – well, look, Washington did a great job with Jane Daniels last year of surrounding him with a good offensive coordinator who fit his style because Cliff did so many different things with Kyler that could be done with Jaden in the run game and some of the quick game stuff. That's all fair. And coaching is a huge idea, point of it. Sorry. But like, I don't know. I think that blame goes both ways in these situations. The Jets failed Sam Darnold for sure, right? Adam Gase wasn't the perfect guy, but like Sam also made a bunch of really stupid decisions week in, week out. And like, as much as the Jets failed him, like Sam needed to grow and like sit there and really learn. And like Caleb needed to take some of those bumps in the road. Sometimes coaching isn't going to tell you that, dude, you're a great athlete, but you're not a better athlete than a linebacker running a 4.3 that's going to hawk you down. And if you run around for like, I don't know, Mike, I don't want to be hard on Caleb here, but he's got to, I think and I hope this has happened already. Look, he's got to grow up a little bit. Just a little bit of, hey, week in, week out, I've been the best player on the field for my entire life. And no question, right? Caleb came in, Red River rivalry, and just like was there instantly the best player in the field. And you're like, holy crap.
Right.
Goes USC, Heisman, and even, year 3 with not a lot around him was fantastic. Caleb had nice moments last year, but I just, while the coaching was a huge issue and everything around him, the offensive line wasn't good and all that stuff, all fair. Maybe that's 80% of the blame, the film stuff. The other 20% is, hey, dude, you don't think that if you called up, I don't know, just pick a guy that went to USC or pick a guy that's a Bears guy or, hey, I need help. I'm not getting the coaching I need. Can someone help me watch film and what am I really supposed to be looking at? All these different things. Again, I just feel like some of that should be on you too, to take ownership of your own career and say, I don't know. Again, last thing here is like, do I think that Drew Bledsoe sat in meetings with Tom Brady and taught him how to watch film? I probably don't. I think that Drew watched film and Tom sat there and said, dude, I want to learn. Tell me what you're seeing and so I can like learn how to do this. Tom wasn't sitting there going, why aren't you talking to me, Drew? It's a different example. I'm just saying, like, you got to take ownership too at the end of the day. And again, the Bears are mostly to blame. Caleb's got to go, man. And we got to step it up here.
Yeah, it's a massive year for him. He got the hire that he needed in Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is going to push him. There is definitely, when I read the quotes, I'm kind of like, and we knew his father was maybe too involved.
Yeah.
But like his maturity needs to go up a notch, okay, now you saw what this is all about. And if you're going to be the guy that we think you're capable of being, and again, physically, he's super, super talented, then it's all the little things that go into it. I do wonder now that this story is out there. I wonder how the Bears, not the players, but the fan base is going to react to him. Because I think the moment, if it doesn't go right early in the year, I think Caleb's going to start hearing it from the fans. and that's pretty early in your tenure to now be battling not only the opposing team and trying to get ready for week in, week out, but then if you're battling your own fan base who are expecting more and, oh, you didn't want to come here and now you're stinking at the start of the season and we're not good, like, then that's on you. It won't be on Ben Johnson. They'll put it all on him. And again, this is where the maturity thing, his resolve, we're going to see all those different things. I do think, by the way, that the idea of trying to circumvent the CBA, there's been a lot of in the last year, I feel like, a little here, a little there, like we don't like the draft system and like why should they get – I'm just curious. Like,
yeah, but
someone's going to push it.
You don't think that what happened to Shador was a little bit of the NFL saying, nope, you guys have no power, actually.
Right.
We really don't give – we will literally draft anybody but you if you guys can. I'm not saying – I'm not trying to be a dick about Shador, but there was a little bit of Shador like, I'm going to pick my team.
Right.
There was a lot of that coming out of the combine of
Sure.
I only need to interview certain teams because we're going to control. Dion had that whole segment all year. The NFL said, okay.
Don't you see? Like, I'm just telling you, I think there's going to be somebody. I don't know whether it's next year, 5 years down the road.
It's going to be Arch.
Someone's going to get real litigious with it. Someone's going to get their agent and they're going to try to push this thing into like the Supreme Court. They will, like this is unconstitutional. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to push it because they're not going to want that to happen.
We had this back in 2003. Peyton was 2004. I mean, Eli was 2004, right? 2004 draft. 2003, Mike Williams and Maurice Claret tried doing this.
Yep.
They went to court. They did all of it. I'm telling you, it's one of those systems. I'm not trying to get whatever here at this stuff, but like Arch is the guy that's going to try to do it because he's got the power and the name and we've seen it. Literally, there's proof in the pudding of another Manning doing it. I wonder how the NFL will handle it though, because what if times are a bit different now? Owners have more power than ever. They have more money than ever. I don't know. Just it'll be an interesting thing to watch. I don't know. I agree with you, but I also think the NFL is a way of
squashing everything
or self-correcting it with these little subtle things they do. We saw with Lamar Jackson. Deshaun Watson got the Browns, by the way, have done this now twice. Every other owner has clearly taken a stand against and these situations. The Browns obviously gave Deshaun that contract. The NFL owners were like, "What are you doing? We're not doing this." And Lamar Jackson, who would arguably been the best free agent available ever, with an MVP at 25 years old on the free agent market, and it just all these teams were like, we're not trading 2-1s, which is absurd. Obviously, every team other than like 3 would have done it, but they basically they not humbled him, but they humbled the situation. Where like, yeah, sorry, like he's not actually available, and we're not going to give you the terms of what we would give him. Last thing on the film thing, I don't know.
That was such collusion.
Like, it was absurd. Again, it's just this little subtle.
Yes.
Oh, he's not. The Falcons aren't interested.
Seriously.
I had the tweets in my head clear as day. I'm like, yes. You're not interested? What do you mean you're not interested in Lamar Jackson? What are you talking about?
Right.
Kurt Warner did tweet. He said, "No one taught me how to watch film either. I went and basically, I went and sought opinions from other guys, and it just made me think like that's a 2-time MVP quarterback, and Kurt definitely lets it fly a little bit on Twitter, and but." Is he wrong? Like, I don't know that everyone gets taught how to watch film and taught these things. Some great coaches will teach you, and that's why they're some of the great ones, right? But a lot of coaches assume and I don't know. And I'm not saying it's right, but go search out. Somebody would have helped you. Somebody could have helped you.
Yeah. I don't think there's any question. Chase Daniels went on a good rant about this. Like, call Chase Daniels.
Yeah,
call Brian. Call Brian Hoyer. Like I'm just pulling names out of a hat.
He could have. You're telling me that he couldn't have last year through back channel said, "Someone get me Tom's number."
Right.
I guarantee you, Tom would have helped him.
You mentioned USC, Carson Palmer,
Matt Leinart. Again. These guys don't have to be amazing NFL players,
right?
But a lot of these guys knew how to watch film. They came from pro systems. Matt Barkley wouldn't have helped you from USC, who's was an awesome backup for a very long time. Helped Josh Allen a lot by everything everyone's talked about. It was really good at helping Josh prepare week in, week out. again, similar play style a little bit. That might have been a good guy to reach out. I don't know. It's just
he's got to grow up, and now he's going to face the sort of the consequences if it doesn't go well early on. Because I think Chicago fans will turn.
The fans will turn quickly if it starts. Oh, and so I told you Monday night. We're talking about the schedule. Monday night, that first week, it's a really tough ask. It's going to be like really amped up, all this excitement, but like Flores is going to blitz the crap out of him and say, "This new O line, you've never played together. Like, let's see it.
Yep.
Let's see it." Yeah, it's what Flores does.
For those of you listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots and league content. Please make sure to turn on notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. Real quick on this one. The story this weekend, Jamal Adams, former Jet, on a podcast said, "I would love to come back and play for the Jets. I don't want to spend too much time on this." Will, your thoughts?
I'm good. No, I mean, look, he was with, and if I do think if there was something real there, it would have happened already. Because maybe I'm wrong, but Aaron Glenn had him last year in Detroit for a couple games. People remember. I think this is classic case of the NFL has kind of moved past me, and I want to pull on the heartstrings a little bit of, hey, you drafted me. It's the fun story. If the Jets gave him a camp spot, sure. It's disappointing the way it's ended for Jamal in a lot of ways. He was unbelievable when he was with the Jets. Like his performance against the Patriots in 2018 or 19, I believe, with Gronk was like, whoa, dude. Like this might be the first time I've seen a safety really, outside of Cam Chancellor, like really stay with Gronk and like hit him, and like he was the best player of that team. And not that they were good, but like he was a legit first team All-Pro at 23 years old. Got hurt a lot, and the first year in Seattle was good but weird, and it's fallen apart for him. And short camp spot, but like there's no guarantees he'd be a roster guy, honestly, at this point. That defense is good enough. I don't know that they need him.
Yeah, it did strike me as just sort of like a desperate cry for someone give me a job at this point. He was I'm glad you brought up the Patriots thing, because I remember in particular a couple of those games against Gronk, and you're just
they were a bad team, but he was like, whoa.
Yep. He was a handful for him, 100%. It's funny that you say there was a moment in Matt Milano's rookie year, obviously different positions, but where Milano like rerouted Gronk down by the goal line and then jumped on the pass. And it was like, oh, this late round pick from Boston College just did something to Gronk that not too many guys do. And then, Milano goes on to become a, defensive player of the year type candidate and an important piece in the Bills team. Lastly, before we get out of here, we did a pod on the schedule. And when we talked about the Patriots, I thought we were being very reasonable, Will. I thought for a team that's won 4 games in each of the last 2 years, that's turned over, it's going to basically when the season starts, have turned over half their roster, essentially. 11 draft picks. I think 10 are locked to make it. 14 free agents. I think 12 or 13 of those guys are going to make it. And then, of course, you have a ton of undrafted free agents, and there always seems to be at least one guy that ends up sticking on your team. So legitimately, nearly 50% of the roster will be different. Obviously, change their coaching staff. And you and I sat here and said, take a little bit to get everything cohesive. They've certainly upgraded the roster, certainly a lot more faith in the coaching staff that actually has a plan, knows what they're doing. I would say we've been extraordinarily positive about the sort of direction that they're on. People didn't like the fact that we think that they're only going to win 8 games, which I guess I'm not surprised, because fans are fans and the fanatical part of it. And then, of course, there was the tweet from FanDuel or whoever where they're actually favored in 11 of the games as of whatever that was, the writing of that story a few days ago, favored in 11 of these games without, again, having played a game and having anyone seen any of these teams on the field together as a group doing anything in anger. And I was just a little bit surprised that for the way things have gone for the Patriots over really the last 5 years, and now you're on your third coach in that period of time. You had the one outlier year where you won 10 games, but then when you go back and do the deep dive on it, they beat 12 12 backup quarterbacks. It was something hideous, you know. I was a little surprised, and I saw some people go at you on Twitter a little bit, and you sort of had a reasonable conversation with them. And I'm dealing with it in my story from this weekend, where it's just like, wow, that just seems all incredibly negative. They've done this, they've done that. I'm like, I don't think that's negative. I think it's reasonable.
Yeah, I guess where I'm just a bit confused is I think there's the upside to potentially get to the 10 or 11 win mark if Drake takes this big leap.
And there would be and a lot of things would have to go right.
I just don't. The problem is we have not seen pretty much any of this group yet outside of 4 or 5 guys. One of them is coming off blood clots, missing the whole year, and it's Milton Williams going into a full-time role now.
Yep.
If he's just the same player as last year, he's still a really good player. But he's not going to be as good as I think Barmore is. I don't think he's on the same level as Jalen Carter. And I don't think that's being a dick. I just think it's the truth. We haven't seen this linebacker duo play together yet. I don't know what Harold Landry is going to look like. Is he going to look like the player that was the worst win rate in the league last year? Is he going to look like the guy rejuvenated under Vrabel that looks like, pre-ACL Harold Landry? There's, on offense, what's this O-line look like? Is Cole Strange the guy that showed some flashes early on, or is he the guy who's been really injured? What's happening at center? Is Will Campbell a great starter year one? Is he just showing promise? There's just so many. What's Stephon Diggs? There's just a lot of questions. So it's, to me, predicting them they're going to double their win total based off I'm honestly having faith mainly in just Vrabel being way better than Gerard Mayo.
Yep.
And what's Vrabel's style? Does it click right away? Does it need a year? I guess I'm confused because I think being positive and being yes, again, could they win 10 or 11 games? Sure. But there's also a chance that they win 6 games, but show so much growth and promise. And it's damn, we lost 5 one-score games. Next year, we can flip that with a little bit of talent. And then we're the 11-win team. That option exists as well. That's why I've gone. I think they're an 8 or a 9-win team. I said on this podcast a week and a half ago, I think there's a 50-50 chance Mike Vrabel wins Coach of the Year. I think the Patriots are going to finish at least second or third, if not high. I don't think that's being negative. I just am not ready to anoint that they're going to win 12 games because it's really, really hard to win 12 games in this league. And I don't know if they're ready to make an 8-win leap yet. We'll see, but that's not where I would lean at the moment. Maybe things change.
Yeah, I think some people are looking at the history of it, right, and saying, well, in recent years, you've seen a team take a big leap. Obviously the Commanders last year, the Texans, the Bengals. The Bengals was a unique situation in terms of the Burrow injury his rookie year. That allows them to get Jamar Chase, and then they take off. Houston was absolutely dog crap for 3 years, but Nick was piecing together the roster. Then they insert C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans and Will Anderson into the mix, and all of a sudden they become a legit football team and take that lead.
In a horrendous division, by the way.
Yeah. And while you may look at the AFC East and not view it with the same lens that maybe you've viewed it in years past, Patriots have struggled to beat Miami when Miami's good or bad. They don't beat Tua. It hasn't happened. It didn't happen at the end with Belichick the last couple of years. Obviously didn't happen last year with Mayo. The Jets split, and Buffalo. Yeah, you've given Buffalo some games. You haven't won those games. So to me, I just sort of view it, and I think I said this to one of our members in the comments in Boston Sports Journal, is my job's not to be a cheerleader. And I think I'm being reasonable with my take. I think the team is in such a much better place now than they were a year ago at this time, or even as they were in December and January under the previous regime. Mike knows what he wants. He knows how to build a program. So they're building this program, but we haven't seen these guys on the field together do anything in anger yet. Talk to me again in the end of August after we've gone through 3 weeks of training camp and you've had a preseason game or two. And is it taking? Is Stephon Diggs going to be out there? Is the Stephon Diggs that's going to be out there the guy that he was before he was injured or something close to it? Is Christian Barmore going to be the guy he was 2 years ago? Or is he going to be the guy we saw for 4 games last season where he made very little impact? And again, understandable, right? Because he was coming off the blood clots. But Point being, we don't know what it's going to look like. You mentioned the edge rushers. Like, where's the pass rush coming from? If the interior is Milton Williams and Christian Barmore from 2 years ago, okay, that probably creates some opportunities for maybe a lesser group of edge rushers. And then the offensive line, as we talked about, like, to me, there may be set pieces on that offensive line in 4 of those 5 spots, but I don't know that I'm super confident about any of them at this point. Again, show me in August, and maybe we'll have a different conversation, and maybe I'll be sitting here telling you, hey, Will, the people were right. I see 10 wins. Like, unless something happens, if there's an injury, obviously, as you go through every year, if something happens to Drake May, the season changes. Or if you have a big injury somewhere else, maybe the feeling that you had in the summer changes during the course of the year. But to me, I thought we were being reasonable. I think my last point on this is a lot of people say, well, you can't compare this team to last year's team, and past performance doesn't predict future performance. And then I would say, but you're telling me the schedule is easy. So you're telling me that the teams that you're playing are going to be just as bad as they were last year, because that's what the schedule makers tell you. And with the the winning percentage, I think is 439 or 429, which is the third easiest schedule on paper. I'm like, that's not how it works. It never works that way. The teams that had the easiest schedule last year, none of them had good seasons. In fact, let me pull it up for you real quick.
I do get why you're looking at that. Like, the last season win percentage and things like that, it matters. But I also think the more important thing, which is what some people are doing, and I think is smart, look at quarterback, coach, travel schedules, things like that. That's where you start to say, ooh, is the schedule easy or not? Hey, we have back-to-back weeks on the road, and the Jets are back-to-back weeks in Florida. Like, that's either going to be a huge advantage for them, or they're going to lose both games and they're going to come back and be like, wow, half our team's on IR. Like, that's right. What happens. Or, hey, we have the bye following London, or we have the bye following, we're playing a team coming off a London game, or we're playing 3 weeks in a row at Buffalo at, just like little things like that. Those are the things more important. Or, 3 weeks in a row, we get Fields, Bryce Young and whoever. And then the next 3 weeks we get Lamar, Josh Allen, and whatever. It's like, well, that's how you really determine it. It's like, oh, the Ravens don't lose at home. Well, that's probably a much more difficult matchup than the Ravens at home. Or just, I don't know. Still based off, like, the Cowboys, I said they could win the division. They also might finish fourth and be terrible.
Yep.
Is that going to play a full year, right?
Right. That's what schedule week predictions are like. You have no idea just yet. Last year, Saints, Falcons, Bears, and Panthers had the easiest schedules in the National Football League. New Orleans, Carolina, and Chicago won 5 games each. Atlanta won 8. So, yeah, you can give me there's been teams that gone from last to first or last to playoffs before. Yep. There's also teams that have the easiest schedule that you're trumpeting, and then it turns out they're still not good enough yet to make that leap and take advantage of it. So
they have the Raiders week 1, right?
Yes.
They probably play the Raiders at the best possible time because, again, new quarterback, new coach, it might take a little bit. But I also could argue, like, they have a veteran quarterback, veteran coach. There's a good chance that team's more ready to play than a team with new coach, young quarterback, et cetera. Like, it could go one of two ways. Like, on paper, the Raiders isn't a hugely difficult matchup, but I don't know. Like, I don't really know if I want to.
Tino's pretty good.
Yeah, like, they
Brock
also
Powers is a tough cover. Ashton Genty, what's he gonna be? Like, that's
like, they also might be pretty damn good. Max Crosby against Will Campbell. Like, I think Will Campbell's still going to be a solid NFL player. Max Crosby's a top 4 potentially defensive player in the league. It's a tough matchup to start the year, right? And it's like, but you lay based off record, like the Raiders sucked last year. So that's our point, right? And but then again,
and the Pats will say the Pats fans will say the same thing. Well, we had Gerard Mayo, now we have Mike Vrabel. Right, you're right, but like, some of that we need to see it before we can tell you definitively how we truly feel about what it's going to look like. Anyway, that's it. Just wanted to sort of address that. I honestly, I sometimes can be an a-hole and I can be super negative, and I don't think we were doing that. So we appreciate you tuning into the All 32. Again, a reminder to like, listen, subscribe, rate, review, do all those wonderful things to keep the All 32 Bowl rolling. We will see you again at the end of the week. Enjoy it. Patriots OTAs on Tuesday.
It is caught! Touchdown! The New England Patriots select Drake May